So I received a question today via Twitter about InterVLAN routing, and it's a very simple architecture. Router 0, router 1, router A, router B is what the question said. And they want VLAN 10 and VLAN 20 on both routers, and I think what actually happened is they put the same IP address on VLAN 10 on both routers, which you cannot do. But let me jump in here, give you a little simulation, and show you what's going on and why things are happening. So on router 0, this is just by default a 2011, and you can see it's got two Ethernet interfaces, fast Ethernet interfaces here. By default, those are the embedded interfaces. They're going to be layer 3 interfaces. To connect two routers together, you can connect these layer 3 interfaces, but then you're going to need another network, another layer 3 network, which you can do. You can do a /30 or something like that. But for this instance, we want VLANs, the same VLANs on both routers. So therefore, we're extending layer 2 across the router, so we need layer 2 interfaces. So I'm going to shut the router off and add network module, Ethernet switch module, 16 port. And then we'll just use this first interface, layer 2 interface is what it's going to be on both routers to connect both of the routers together. So we'll do the same over here on router 1, turn it off, and we'll add 16 port Ethernet switch module. And let's start those guys back up, and while we're doing that, we'll cable them up as well. He's starting, okay, and then we'll cable them together, and we will choose, so the fast Ethernet 0001 are your layer 3 interfaces, fast Ethernet 10 is your first interface on the Ethernet switch module. We'll connect that to fast Ethernet 10 on the other router. It's red right now because they're both shut down. And let's go into the config, and you can see, if we just do a show run, you can see their switch port commands are on the Ethernet switch module interfaces, but there are no switch port commands on the other two because these are layer 3. It will give you an error if you try to configure switch port commands on fast Ethernet 00, fast Ethernet 01. So since we're connected to fast Ethernet 10 on both, we'll just configure that real quick as a trunk port. Interface fast Ethernet 10, switch port. Mode trunk, we'll just allow everything and no shut, and then do the same thing over here on router 1. Okay, so now those are connected via layer 2, and what we need to do next is our VLANs. So if you do a show VLAN on the routers, you'll see they have the default VLANs, and we need to get VLAN 10 and VLAN 20 on both of those. This is the layer 2 VLAN database. So if we configure, let's say on router 0, we're going to configure config T layer 3. This is layer 3. If we do an interface VLAN 10, that's a layer 3 interface. We give it IP address 192.168.10.1 /24 mask, and we no shut it. Now if we show our VLAN database again, it didn't add VLAN 10 here. Even though I have a layer 3 interface VLAN 10, it doesn't add it to the layer 2 database. So what we have to do to add it to the database, and we'll just add both of them because I want VLAN 10 and VLAN 20 talking across the switch ports on both routers. So we'll go into the VLAN database and just add VLAN space 10, enter, and VLAN space 20, enter. And if we do a show VLAN again, now you can see that they're in the VLAN database. So now they'll talk layer 2 between the Ethernet switch modules on both routers. I do have to add it to this router, of course. So let's go in VLAN database and VLAN 10, VLAN 20, exit out. Okay. So next, what we need to do, let's say we're going to put on router 1, we're going to put interface VLAN 20, and this is our layer 3 interface, and we'll give him IP address 192.168.20.1 /24 mask, no shut. Okay, show IP interface brief. We should have VLAN 20 is here, and it's up, and it came up. If you see it's down, it probably means that your VLANs aren't added to the VLAN database, even if you have a layer 3 interface there. So you add your VLANs to the database, and your VLAN interfaces will come up. Interface brief, and we have VLAN 10 here. Now they're not going to be able to talk to each other because InterVLAN routing occurs on the router. So what you really need is a VLAN. Let's say you could move this IP address, move this layer 3 interface VLAN 20 with this IP address, shut it down here, and bring it up here. You can't have the same IP on both routers. That will confuse the network. But you could shut down 20 and bring it up here. In our case, we're just going to add another layer 3 interface on router 0. Interface VLAN 20, and we're going to give it IP address 192.168.20.2, same mask, and no shut it. Okay, so now what's happening is router 1 has VLAN 20, layer 3 interface VLAN 20 with an IP address 192.168.20.1. Router 0 has layer 3 interface VLAN 10 with an IP address 192.168.10.1 and a layer 3 interface VLAN 20 with an IP address 192.168.20.2. And then both routers are connected via layer 2, and the layer 2 is sharing all trunks, and we have VLANs 10 and 20, layer 2 VLANs 10 and 20 on both routers, which means that InterVLAN routing will occur on this router between 10 and 20. I'll be able to ping VLAN 20's layer 3 IP from VLAN 10 and VLAN 10's layer 3 IP from VLAN 20. We'll do that in just a second. And then over here on this router, I'll be able to ping VLAN 20's IP on router 0. But I won't yet be able to ping VLAN 10 on router 0, and I'll tell you why in just a second. So let's test those things out. On VLAN 20, on router 0, I want to ping, and I'm going to do extended here, my target IP address 192.168.20.2, which is on this router, and on my source address 192.168.10.1, which is on the same router, and it pings just fine. So that's the InterVLAN routing that's occurring there. Now if I try to do the same thing and try to ping the target IP address 192.168.20.1, which is this router over here, from the same source address 192.168.10.1, it will fail. And the reason that it fails is because router 1 doesn't know where the 10 network is. So to fix that, you just have to add a route, IP route, to get to 192.168.10.0 network. Your next hop is going to be 192.168.20.2. And then we'll try that ping again, and it should work this time. Source is 10.1. Destination is 20.1. Okay, let's try this again. I did it backwards. Ping. Destination is 192.168.20.1. Source is 192.168.10.1. And now we have a route back, so this works in this case. Hopefully that helped. You can't really have the same VLANs with the same IPs on two different routers. You'll run into issues there. Of course, there's other technologies where you can do layer 2 tunneling over layer 3 and things like that. But I think this question was kind of interested in how does it actually work, what does the architecture look like, so hopefully this helped explain it a little bit. And if you have other questions, just let me know at econfigs on Twitter or other popular social media or here on YouTube, and I'll create some more videos. Thanks.